What's good, everybody? Welcome to Universal Teas, the People's Podcast with your girl Toya. This is the first episode in what I'm calling my In Your Space series. So, as you all are listening, I will be joined by some amazing guests who are going to be sharing their insight, their perspective through the lens of their businesses. And here with me, I will have her introduce herself, but I have Joanna, the owner of Embody Yoga here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Joanna, go ahead and introduce yourself for yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name is Joanna Brooks. I'm the owner here at Embody Yoga, which is a Black-owned and operated yoga and now also Pilates studio in Milwaukee.
Yes, thank you. And she is amazing. And so before we get started, I just gave her this story that she didn't even know. Embody has been a constant. So I've been in Milwaukee since 2017. I came here. I didn't have any family. I didn't know anyone. I had never been to the city of Milwaukee until the day I moved to the city of Milwaukee. But I knew that I needed to find a space. I've always been like a dancer, so doing like ballet, jazz, tap. And so yoga was something that I did on and off in college. So I found a yoga studio with my friend Taylor. And this was back in Sherman, Phoenix,
yes.
which is a business hub here in Milwaukee. And so I just want to say thank you for being courageous enough to bring this vision to life, because it's been a constant for me. And anytime I'm stressed out, I come to Embody. Even through the pandemic, I was on the virtual yoga classes. So it is a safe space for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Periodically people share stories like that with me, and it's always a reminder to me that Embody Yoga is so much bigger than me or my dreams or what I hoped it would be. That makes me feel good.
Yes. And so throughout this series, we're going to kind of talk about how you got here, like the personal journey you had to go through in order to make Embody what it is today. Embody is not just Embody Yoga, it's Embody Pilates and a bunch of other things that we all benefit from. And so I just want to give you all as listeners that insight on that through the stories of the people who are creating those things. Okay. So first question. Before you got into the idea of Embody Yoga, what did life look like you before yoga became a central part of that for you?
Well, I remember just before I started practicing yoga on a regular basis, and I remember because it was like a period of transition that I think a lot of people go through, but nobody ever talks about. So I had graduated college. I think it was undergrad. It might have even been grad school. I can't even remember at this point. But at that point, I had been a student all of my life. And then, when you get to college, if you're lucky, you got those refund checks to rely on, right? So life still feels like relatively easy.
Yeah.
And if you are lucky enough to be like a good student and excel in academics, that becomes like part of your identity and something that you're really proud of. And then all of a sudden you graduate and you just expected to like figure it out or know what to do. All of a sudden you have to find like a full-time job. You got to pay rent, and there are no refund checks that are going to pay for it anymore. And so I'm just like, I found myself after graduation being like, I wouldn't say depressed, but I'm just like, is this all it is?
Yeah.
I found a job working at a law firm. This was for sure after undergrad. I was working at a law firm because I was interested in becoming an attorney at that point. And so I thought I would like get my feet wet and, see how it was, right? It was a real estate and bankruptcy law firm, and I started like at the bottom, the base level. So I was doing like a lot of like admin work and things like that. And I kind of moved up or got promoted kind of quickly to the point where I was calling creditors, I believe it was, and trying to like negotiate and doing stuff that I felt like an attorney would do, or at least a paralegal, right?
Yeah.
And so once I would kind of like settle it, I would send it up to the attorney. He would sign off on it. Boom, it's done, right? But it was just constantly sitting at a desk in front of a computer, paperwork, and on the phone making calls. And then I would go home and I would feel so exhausted. Like after all of that I didn't feel like I had energy for anything else. And I would go to bed and wake up They do the same thing over and over. And I got to a point where I'm like, there has to be
Yep.
more to life than this.
Yeah.
This cannot be my life. This will not be my life. And at that point, entrepreneurship wasn't on my mind.
Yep.
It wasn't even a thought. I'm just like, I just have to find the right job, like the
Yep.
right field, you know? So that was a space I was in when I actually started practicing yoga.
Okay.
I wanted to combat that feeling like I was just working, sleeping,
Mhm.
nothing else. So I'm like, let me get back into movement. I had a background in movement. I had done yoga like as a kid.
Yeah.
Had done like a little bit of dance, had done a little bit of running, you know,
Mhm.
so movement has always been a
Yeah.
part of my story. And I'm like, it's time for me to get back to it. Maybe that'll help me. So I found a yoga class. It was hot yoga.
You started with hot yoga?
Started with
Oh, you
and
snapped.
not just hot.
You came in hot.
Hot, right. But it wasn't even just hot yoga. It was Bikram yoga, which
What's
is
that?
typically hotter than your average like hot yoga class. It's hot yoga. But I think their minimum temperature is like 110 degrees, like 40% humidity,
Oof.
and there's a set sequence of poses, a breathing exercise, a set sequence of poses, a breathing exercise, and then you're done. And classes, at least back then, were like 90 minutes long.
Oof.
So
your hour classes be tearing me down.
I know. So can you imagine an extra 30 minutes on top of that?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 75. Don't get me to lying. But either way it goes, it was a long time. And I took that first class and I went in feeling relatively confident because, again, I have a background in movement. And I think I was maybe 10, 15 minutes into that class and I had to lay down. And for context, at a lot of like hot studios, especially Bikram back in the day, they didn't let you leave the studio because they typically didn't have staff out like in the waiting area. And so if you walked out there and fainted, nobody would know until class was over. So they wanted you to stay in. So I just had to lay down in the heat and I'm looking around at all of these people who look like they doing okay. And I'm like, how?
Houseway.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this ain't that. This ain't the thing for me. And I'm like, I'm not coming back. Ended up going back like 3 months later with my cousin. So I'm clicked. And now here we are.
And so, first of all, I didn't know we had these similarities because I've always wanted to have a career in law. And I feel like now I'm in that stage of like that redundant cycle of life. And it's like I've always been a creative. Like I said, I've danced since I was 5 years old. I've been like a dancer. Movement has always, I ran track. So all of those things are natural to me. And I think I tricked myself into believing that in order to be a big girl or to be an adult, I had to like not do the fun things that I enjoyed and just had to focus on my career. And so that really speaks to me that, you know, just kind of breaking that cycle. But you talked about like taking that first class and then kind of feeling defeated, if you will, having to kind of take a seat back in that. So what got you to say like, I'm going to try this thing again?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. But my cousin, one of my male cousins from California, came into town and he was coming in town with his girlfriend, unbeknownst to us, with the intentions of proposing to her in front of us. Like family is really important. His hometown is really important to him, even though he lives on the West Coast. So I think she had recently gone through this weight loss journey and had lost a significant amount of weight. And fitness movement was really big for her. And he was like, I'm bringing her in. She's going to want to work out. Where can you take her to work out? Because, I mean, he works out too, but he lifting like heavy weights and, you know, like doing all of that. And probably don't have time for her in the gym. You know?
Right.
So I had another cousin who was also coming in town, you know, for this same like family occasion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take you out to that hot yoga place that I went to. Like, it'll be intense. This future fiance will get the workout that she wants, you know, and it'll be about an experience and, you know, whatever else. And it was probably the only like studio that I knew of, you
Yeah.
know, like at that time, as opposed to like taking them to a gym. So that's how I landed on that and ended up back in the studio. And I'm so glad I went back. And I think this is a testament to the fact that you should try things a couple of times
Yeah.
before you rule them out.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine if I had never gone back?
No,
Embody
because
yoga,
we wouldn't be here.
yeah, yeah. That's so crazy, right? To think about. But it was in that second class that I took a few months after that first class, which was terrible, where I'm like, I think I like this. Like something clicked for me.
Yeah.
And so even after, oh, he did propose and she did say yes, you know, all of that. They
Cheers,
left,
congratulations.
Yes, congrats. And they left town and I continued to go. And I just felt like deeply in love with that practice. I mean, when I'm into something, I'm all the way in. And I was all the way in and still am on yoga.
Yeah. And we love that you are. And so thinking about going like back to when you were doing like the paralegal things and then you took that first class, it didn't work out, then you did the return, were you still in that like legal world as your like full-time work?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because there were only like 3 months between that first class and then when I went back and when it clicked.
Yeah.
And it did help. Like, I don't so much think about that time of my life as being work-centered and how miserable I was, you know, like in that job. I just think about like all the yoga that I was doing.
Yeah, and that's beautiful.
I should also mention though that I remember one morning I was headed to work to the law firm and my mom was still alive and I was just miserable. Like no offense to those people. I hated that job. I was miserable. Like walking up to the door and just feeling like sick. You know what I mean? It just wasn't for me. It wasn't that nobody was like picking on me. It wasn't that I wasn't being paid right. It just wasn't where I was supposed to be.
You were
and
out
what
of
I was
alignment.
supposed to. Yes. And so I remember calling my mama that morning. I'm like, Mama, I hate this job. I don't want to go to this job. And she was like, just quit. Like it was that easy.
Yes.
I'm like, Mom, I gotta pay bills. I can't pause my job. Like I'm a college graduate.
Yes.
You know, like, and but you know, when your mama tell you something, your mama don't be wrong. And so eventually I did quit. I ended up finding another job. I ended up applying for grad schools. I know if y'all listen to my timeline seems disjointed and out of order, but I ended up going to grad school to study counseling, to become a therapist, and still didn't end up doing that. But it very much informs the work that I do today.
Yeah. So I'm just listening. I'm learning so much. And I'm relating to it because I feel like I'm in that weird phase. And so the question that came up when you talk about like how you decided that you fell in love with yoga, but you were still in this thing that was secure, that like paid your bills and all of that. Did you at any point feel like taking this step into yoga full time was you like ditching yourself, like the life that you created or that you envisioned? Because like you said, you had, wanted to be in legal work or wanted to be an attorney. Did you struggle with any feeling of like, I did all of this work to create this life in this legal field and now I'm like starting at the bottom somewhere else?
No, because it didn't happen like that for me. Like I didn't go into it like, oh yeah, I'm a one day own a yoga studio. Never. I feel like I kind of like stumbled into entrepreneurship. It was never. I was always under the impression that once you become a yoga teacher, you have to teach somewhere for like 10 years and like amass all of this experience. And then maybe you step out on your own.
Yeah.
And now, once I fell in love with yoga, after a few months of being in that space of like being in love with it and love and how my body felt, I'm like, I think I want to help people feel like this, And so, long story short, I ended up going into yoga teacher training. And I feel like I always have to shout out my yoga teacher, my yoga mentor, Meg Galarza, the owner of Yoga One in Cedarburg. Yeah, she is everything. But went through yoga teacher training and just thought that, again, that I would just like teach different places, And then I had what I would call another major life transition that kind of led me into entrepreneurship.
And so what type of like courage or mental shift did you have to take with that life experience in order to say, like, I'm actually like making the decision to do it and then like moving in it? Because we can decide, we can say like, this is the step that I need to take, but the space between needing to take it and taking it, how did you bridge that gap for yourself after that transition?
Child, it was years. it was literally years.
Yeah.
And so when I see people, or when people ask me questions, right, like they look at me and they assume a certain like level of success. Oh, so she must know. Let me see what she know. I don't believe in. I do. And I don't. Like, I like to be financially secure. I like to know where my money is coming from, you know? So I would never recommend anybody quit your job and just jump into it. That's a fantasy. That's not real. And that's going to lead you to make very poor decisions as you establish your business. Decisions that you are making out of desperation that you probably wouldn't make if you weren't worried about money and overhead and, you know, all of those things. So for me, once I did launch Embody Yoga, I was just teaching like a couple of classes a week under the Embody Yoga name. And I was working full time for several years, at least 4 to 5 years, still working full time, and then just teaching yoga classes in the evening and on weekends. And I will say, at this point, I was in a different job. I had done like some counseling work, and I had went into higher ed. And I was also miserable in higher ed. And it wasn't this time the work, it was the environment, like the culture that I was in. And so I feel like that too kind of forced my hand. You know, I knew my numbers for Embody Yoga, right? So like I knew that I was making probably just enough like to survive and to replace the income that I was making. And I also felt like, okay, if I don't leave this place, they're going to walk me up out of here anyway, you know, like at some point, because I wasn't vibing with them. They weren't vibing with me. And so it was during one of our like winter breaks where I had like almost 2 weeks just off, paid off. So that was a good benefit of the job, where I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I don't want to do this anymore. So when I came back, I submitted my letter of resignation, and then it was just me figuring it out.
Oh, I'm scared. I'm over here nervous just thinking about that. It just sounds so scary. So then, like, who did you have to become? Like, how did you have to change your mind to let go of, like, I'm gonna step away from this security that has been created in this system to like, I absolutely am not doing that anymore, and I'm gonna create my own security? Like, who did you have to become to do that?
Well, I remember sending an email out to my close friends and family. Like,
you sent the email?
Yeah, I sent an email, child. I sent an
email.
You
meant business.
Yeah, to whom it may concern. And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm leaving this job. I'm going to go into this full time. And if it don't work out, you know, like, I could always get another job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I figured if I failed, I would fail fast. And so it wouldn't be like this big gap of time that would be unattractive to a future employer, you know, or anything like that. So I'm like, you know, I'm just going to step out here and see. It was never like, there was never any like finality behind that decision, because you can always go back. And I would recommend for some, if you feel like business isn't going the way you want it to, or you're not bringing in the revenue that you need to like, you know, pay yourself, it's okay to like step off, you know, go get you a little part-time job, maybe even get you a full-time job, you know, and figure it out that way. So, so I don't know if that's really giving you like the answer that you might be looking for, if you're looking for one, but it was the truth for me. And then also the other thing was, I had a friend at this job that I was leaving, who also just wasn't vibing with like the culture of the place. And we were talking, and she was always encouraging me. She knew that I was teaching like yoga and had been, and she was like, you'll be fine, you know. You can't listen to other people. Like,
Yeah.
no disrespect to her, love her down, but I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I'm
Yep.
not making a jump until I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I made that jump, I still had other things lined up, you
Yeah.
know, security, right? There was a like little contract position that was different from any of the work that I had done, that was kind of like out there. And I think the person who offered it to me was trying to like understood that I needed something, you know, to help me bridge that gap from being a full-time employee to
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was grateful for that. Um, but as it turns out, that didn't actually lead to any income for me. And it was just Embody Yoga that was really supporting me,
Yeah.
you know, that whole time.
And it sounds a lot like, because I mean, I've heard that before, like, you'll be fine. And that's great that people see you in that light, right? To be able to encourage you in that way. But knowing, like, I don't doubt that I'm going to be okay. I just have to make sure everything is in a row for me. And so it sounds like you had to more so operate in your own confidence and learn to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Versus just kind of like that outside noise, because I talk a lot too about not listening to outside noise. And so it's not even just a negative connotation with that, right? Because outside noise can also be encouraging.
Yeah.
But it could be coming, everybody's on this different path and walk of life. So somebody else can be like in hustle mode where they're like, I'm going to grind and I'm going to get it and I'm going to do it this way. But you have to also be very cognizant of like your internal clock and your alignment and your awareness of what and how things should be going in your life. So that's super encouraging to hear, because we think about all the time, like somebody telling you like, just like you said, just quit your job and like go do this. But you have to take that from your own like perspective and your clock. And so I think too, when you were talking about, you said even if, so doing Embody Yoga, or if you're starting your business and don't feel like you can fully finance yourself, it's okay to like get a part-time job or like take another full-time job. And for me, if I'm selling my business, because I do that a lot here, that would just I would struggle with that. And I'm wondering if it's my ego to say, like, I'm stepping away from like this big girl job that looks good on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I know that I'm pursuing something bigger and the vision that God's given me. But then to say, like, oh, I got this little part-time job, like, I might be a little embarrassed to say that I'm doing that. But I think, like you mentioned, like, you just have to build your own confidence and just focus. Like, that's when you put those blinders on for yourself.
I don't feel like being full-time in your business makes you more of an entrepreneur than somebody who might be full-time in a business and part-time somewhere else, or part-time in a business and full, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really get into that, because at the end of the day, if you have it within you to bring something to life that people enjoy, that means something to somebody, you're an entrepreneur. You did that, you know? And I think that's what ends up hindering a lot of entrepreneurs, especially a lot of Black entrepreneurs, because business is always going to shift and be up and down. So you can't be ashamed to leave, quote unquote, full-time entrepreneurship and pursue employment somewhere else if you need. Like, who gonna pay them bills?
That part.
You know what I mean? So I'll tell you this. During the pandemic, we could not operate. This was when I was had my studio at the Sherman Phoenix. We couldn't operate. We were doing a lot of stuff virtually, right? But there came a point where people started to get tired of virtual, because everything was on a computer, everything was online. So when we started our virtual classes, first things first, we were only charging like $5 per class or something like that. Which worked out well, because some of those classes we had like 200 plus people. You know what I mean? So that's not bad money for an hour, you know? But again, as people got tired of being virtual, I started to see the attendance like decrease. And I'm somebody who's often in the numbers, and I like to feel secure. So I was able to see and project like, oh, if we keep going this way, and this is not something I have control, I don't have control over the pandemic. You know, if we continue this way, I'm going to eventually run out of money, or not even just run out of money. I'm going to hit that point where I feel uncomfortable with what's left in my account, right? Like, and that shouldn't, I know you shouldn't say should, but I just want people to understand, like, zero that ain't rock bottom.
Yeah.
When you hit your, I'm starting to get uncomfortable point, whether that's $200 or $2,000 or $20,000, whatever that number is, like when you hit that number or you see yourself going towards that number, okay, it's time for me to shift or make a move. So I actually took a part-time job. It was a at-home, work from home job for MATC, where I was taking calls from like students and things like that. And I did that. And then I was like filming classes and everything else. And I was able to support myself and not make no drastic or desperate business decisions. You know, and then when things started to clear up, left that job and, you know, went back to it.
And so then walk us through like what Embody has become. So that transition from Sherman Phoenix being in like that hub to your own space and filling that out. Like, what have you started to now learn here? Because like in the beginning, you just kind of had to learn trusting yourself. You had to learn like believing in your vision. You had to like learn to just trust what you felt when you loved yoga. But now you're moving into like full on yoga Pilates studio, like with the staff. It's not just you anymore doing the classes. So then like what are you learning now in this more mature age of Embody Yoga?
Well, let me back up a little bit. Okay. Just answer the question, Joanna.
No, I just all the way through.
So there's not like these neat stages where it's like, oh, it's just me. And then bam, there's like a whole studio and staff and Pilates and equipment, you know, like everything was like so gradual. It's almost like sometimes I like wake up and I'm like, how did I get here? You know what I mean? It was just that gradual. The same way, no shade, but like sometimes, okay, I think this is an example that people can relate to, right? Where like you like out with your friends or something like that, y'all take a picture, you see the picture and you're like, dang, I done gained weight. How did I get here? It's like what happened? You know what I mean? And it was just gradual, right? So I would say that's been the trajectory or the story of Embody Yoga. It was gradual. But there was not a time where I'm just like, oh, okay, it's time for like stage 2 and we're going to do it bigger. Actually, my hand was forced. So I haven't really talked about this like very much publicly or in a podcast before. But when I was at the Sherman Phoenix, I was also doing some work for the Sherman Phoenix. So this was like that bridge that I was talking about between leaving my full-time job and full-time entrepreneurship. And I mentioned previously that I anticipated like payment, but that didn't really come, and Embody Yoga was supporting me. So what ended up happening is in this position that I had with the Sherman Phoenix, I was promised like a certain amount of pay and wasn't like really receiving that or receiving it on a regular basis. You know, like sometimes I would have to like prompt or there might be a check for a certain amount, but I felt like there was a lot of work that I did that I wasn't being compensated for according to our agreement, right? And so I also realized in doing that work for the Sherman Phoenix that I was kind of putting Embody Yoga on the back burner. And I'm like, Joanna, you got this, you know, mixed up, you know? So that work became very stressful. And who wants to continue to be stressed out over a job, period, but especially whenever you're not being, you know, like properly compensated. And so I made the decision to leave that position. Mind you, my studio is still in the Sherman Phoenix. Mind you, this whole time I'm still like, you know, paying my rent and things like that. So I should say, with the exception of during the pandemic, they got like grant money. So none of the tenants or entrepreneurs there, you know, needed to pay rent at that time. So big ups to them for that. But I decided to leave that position, but I was also requesting the pay that was owed me. And to make another long story short, I had to end up getting an attorney, filing a lawsuit, suing, so that I could get the compensation that was owed me. And ultimately, we ended up settling. And part of that settlement was I had to leave my space at the Sherman Phoenix. But God is good. It seemed
like a glow up from the outside.
Well, I mean, yes, because I wanted it to look that way, you know, like I never, at that point anyway, I didn't want to look like I was bashing like another Black woman. Although it wasn't just that Black woman, you know, it was also a white woman there who was also co-owner. But I didn't want to look like I was bashing. And then it had been such like a heavy time for me. And I just really wanted Embody Yoga to succeed. And again, everything happens for a reason. And I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because that could have been the end of Embody Yoga. There were a couple of times before this that could have been the end, of Embody Yoga. It hasn't been without its challenges, for sure. But I said before that God is so good, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing, because I knew, of course, because of the settlement, that I had to leave my space at the Sherman Phoenix. My space at the Sherman Phoenix was offered to me, like in the beginning. It's not like I went out and I knew anything about like leasing, like a business space or anything. I knew nothing about that world. And the idea of going out to find a new space that would be just as beautiful and welcoming, like I didn't want to take a step back. You know what I mean? If I'm taking a step, I want it to be a step forward.
Onward and upward.
Yes. And so I had no idea how that would happen or how that would come. Two things happened for me. One, during the pandemic, when we were doing virtual classes, I was also, when it was warm outside, teaching yoga in the park at Johnson's Park. And I started realizing there were a lot of women coming up to me like, how did you pay for yoga teacher training? Like there was a shift. People were now interested in becoming, like I was getting a lot of questions about becoming a yoga teacher, like paying for it. And I realized that that was a barrier for a lot of them. And so I decided to start like a nonprofit. Well, no. It wasn't initially at that point a nonprofit. I just wanted to raise money so that I could give scholarships to some of these women who I knew wanted to become yoga teachers. So I put it out on social media. This was shortly after George Floyd had been murdered. So white people was just like handing money over.
Come on, reparations. We'll take them any way we can get them.
I will take it, and let it benefit my people. So, so money was just, it was so much money coming in. And I remember feeling overwhelmed because I'm like, what are the tax implications of this?
How much of this y'all need back?
I'm like, what am I like? Am I gonna have to give these people something? Like in the year, like. And so I remember making a post on social media, like, I've been quiet about this, like everything is going well, but I have been overwhelmed because these are the things that I'm now worried about, and I don't know anything about this. And I'm like, but I'm a smart girl and I'm gonna figure it out, right? Like that was my post. And a man who had been like attending my yoga in the park classes saw that and reached out to me, white man. And he was like, hey, I hope I'm not, like overstepping, but I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm more than happy to like help or assist in any way.
Wow.
And I could tell.
Look at that alignment.
Yes.
I love.
And I could tell, like, in his communication, he wasn't trying to sell me anything or any. He was like,
it's always that on the back end. Like, okay.
And I mean, we still work together. We are business partners, not for Embody Yoga, but for this wellness center concept. And he has been solid the whole time, So I kind of gave it away. But anyway, I did accept his offer for help. And so as we started like working together and forming like this nonprofit, we also started playing around with the idea of like opening a wellness center and what that might look like. Let me back up. No, let me get this right. We launched a nonprofit. And continue to get money coming in so we could continue to give scholarships. And I ended up confiding in him in one of our meetings what was going on with the Sherman Phoenix and how I had to leave the space and I needed to find a new space. This man was like, oh, in addition to being an accountant by trade, I also own a construction and real estate company, and I can help you on this journey, like to figure it out. And so it's just crazy to think about.
I love this story.
I mean, in a matter of days, he had a binder for me and for him of all the vacant properties in the city, and we just drove the city. Him with his wife in one car, me with my boyfriend at the time in a car, and just looking like, is this the right location? Does it look good on the outside? And that's how we ended up finding this space. By the time we found this space, we were also starting our conversations about starting a wellness center. So that's why we landed in this space, which is, I know the listener can't see it. They haven't been to the studio, but it's a large space.
Yeah. It's real big. Yeah. We're going to do a walkthrough in a second.
Yeah. So. And it's not just what you see here. We also have the suites outside in the hallway too.
Really?
And got it for an amazing deal on top of that. So that was one of the things that happened. I said there were two things that happened at that time. The second thing was, I don't know if the Sherman Phoenix realized that I was still on their mailing list, like their email list, but they sent an email out to the tenants like, hey, there's this opportunity, the Drew and Lauren Holiday Social Impact Fund, and y'all should apply for it. Like, they're giving out grants. And I'm like, man, I never like win anything.
Yeah.
But I had a conversation with another Black entrepreneur maybe like a month before that. And she was talking about like grants she had gone after and got them. She was like, well, you won't know if you don't try. So it was like my mind was primed to like go for this opportunity that was coming.
Yeah.
So it landed in my email. I saw it. I applied. And I just kind of like, nothing
just forgot about it. Yeah.
Child, do you know I got that grant?
Let's go.
And so that's how
super exciting.
I can't even, it feels like so long ago, but it wasn't. But I think they ended up giving me like somewhere between 15 to 25,000.
Wow.
And they gave me a crowdfunding coaching and all of this support. What? And so we launched a crowdfunding campaign. And I think when it was all said and done, we had raised like $70,000 for the build out of our space here.
Yeah.
In addition to that, because, you know, like Drew and Lauren, they are like professional athletes, you know, and celebrities.
Yeah.
And so then it was all kind of like news stations reaching out. So that helped elevate like our profile, you know, in the community. And then it was just like off to the races after that. Once we started and completed the build out, the construction of our new studio space, we were offering like hot yoga. And then our revenue just like it increased by like 200%. You know,
because that's my new favorite class is hot yoga.
Listen, like, and people think that we started here with hot yoga. I'm like, y'all have no idea that I started at Walnut Way in a house, you know, on the second floor, you know, like a makeshift yoga studio. And now we're here. But again, it was so gradual. And this is jumping ahead a little bit, but because we were doing so well on the yoga end, and because I think I'm pretty good, you know, with like money and stuff like that, I was just reinvesting. I just wanted to stack or reinvest in the business. So then I went through Pilates teacher training, like on a whim, went through Pilates teacher training, and then was ultimately able to, you know, get all of these like reformers that we have here and all of the equipment in this classical Pilates studio that we're in. I did take out my first business loan for the 10 reformers out in the large common space. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but if I wanted to, I could pay that loan off today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You should brag.
And I say that only to say, like, I feel like when you operating in your gifts, when you really care about what you're doing and the people that you're doing it for, everything else will come over time. And also it's important for me to say that because I am so far from where I was when I started. You know what I mean?
We're going to have to get a first picture of the first Embody Yoga class in the picture now. And put them side by side.
Side by side.
Because what I'm hearing, and we're going to close out and say, because you got a class starting soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Is like trust in yourself, build your confidence, like do what you have to do for your own vision to come to life, no matter what that looks like. The ask is something that I'm taking away from this. It's like not being afraid, like that Facebook post of like, this is what's going on, and being open to community, because a lot of us, myself included, can be really closed off. Like, this is my thing and I don't want anybody else to touch it or be able to say that they did something for it. But I'm so grateful for your journey and your courage, and it got me through a lot of hard things since I've been in Milwaukee. I'm getting a little emotional. But like I said, Embody has always been a grounding place. Anytime life is crazy and I'm extremely overwhelmed, I'm looking up a class. I'm like, I need to go to a class. And so before we sign off, last question is, what would you say to someone who feels called to create something, but they don't feel ready?
I don't know if you'll ever feel ready. I don't know if you'll ever feel ready. I think that you have to be open. The part of my story that I've shared many other places before that we didn't get into here was what actually led me to start Embody Yoga. And that was, I was depressed after a pretty serious breakup of a romantic relationship, and I was stuck in it, sitting in it, wallowing in it. And one of my friends was like, Joanna, you got to find something to do to focus on, instead of just this. And so I was trying to figure out what that thing would be. Was scrolling Instagram, came across Soleil. She used to be the rapper Soleil. And she is now doing a lot of things. But at the time I came across her, over 10 years ago, she had gotten into yoga and was teaching yoga at her daughter's dance studio. So I'm like, oh, maybe I could find a space and teach a couple yoga classes. And I could make it a project. I could create a business name and a logo and put it out there and see how it goes. And I initially said it was going to be a 6-week program. And I'm just going to do those 6 weeks, see how it go. If people still want it, I'll keep showing up. And when they're done with it, I'll be done with it. And it's that type of thinking that got me here. I was serious about it, but also at the same time, and I think I'm still this way, when it's time to let it go, I can let it go and move on to something else too, I forgot what your question was.
No.
So for what would I say to somebody? So I think you have to be open, and follow inspiration. Whatever it is that you want to do when it comes to entrepreneurship, I feel like you should care about it and you should be good at it. And I think if you care about it and if you're good at it, that means that you are going to perform well for your customers and you will do your due diligence, to make sure it's successful. And over time, if those two things are in place, I feel like you will have no choice but to be successful.
I love that. And so, since that was so great, we are going to leave it there. And I just want to say again, thank you for letting all of us in your space. And more blessings to you.
Well, thank
I
you
can't
so
wait
much.
until I'm in my next class.
Yes, I'll see you on the mat soon.
Yes.